Welcome back to Afternoon Live. After experiencing two life-changing tragedies in less than a year, in an effort to escape that profound grief, our next guest chose to literally move forward on a 500-mile pilgrimage. We welcome the author of Everything Changes Everything, Love, Loss, and a Really Long Walk, Lauren Kessler. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for inviting me.
I wanted to ask you about when you kind of realized that this was going to become a book, because you're so generous to share so much of your family's story, but it must have been difficult at times to walk through that.
Well, thank you, and yes. It is actually a layered question because I'm a writer for a living.
Right.
And so I see stories everywhere, and some of the stories have to do with me, but mostly in my writing life, they have to do with other people.
Right.
This was a story that was mine, but it was also everybody's, because everybody experiences loss. Everybody. Not everybody experiences my loss, but to not use that experience to reach out to people and say that you can walk through it. You can do what you need to do to process that. So that's really what compelled me.
Your love for your family just really jumps off the page right away, and I do find it so generous of you to share so much of them with us, the readers. Your husband, Tom, he battled a rare sarcoma, and you as a family decided on an end-of-life procedure for him, and it really was the best decision for you all.
It was, so he and I had spoken about death with dignity, and Oregon was the first state in the United States to legislate that. And this was years ago, this was 30 some odd years ago, and we were great supporters, so it was not a new conversation.
Right.
But I will say that when I thought about it previously, I thought that to take control of your own death when you're in the middle of something awful is a good thing. What I didn't realize was what a good thing it is for the family. This was a gift that my husband gave to the family, and it has helped us tremendously to not feel the kind of paralyzing grief that one could feel.
You write about it so beautifully, that experience in your home, surrounded by your loved ones, without hospital machines and things like that. I think everyone has their own choice to make, but it's comforting to know that it was the best one for you.
And that we get to make that choice here. And in many states, they don't. And if you don't want to do this, that is your choice, but it does exist.
I wanted to ask you about Lizzie, and you share some beautiful memories of her as a young child. What immediately jumps out to you when you think of a memory of her?
What kind of generosity she had toward others. She was a helper. She just didn't know how to help herself. She really knew how to help others, and she was a sounding board for so many people.
Yeah.
But whatever she was going through at whatever point in her life, she internalized it, and she didn't ask for help, and she actually pushed away help.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is quite stunning that your husband passes and then you lose your daughter in this battle with addiction only a matter of months later. When did you decide that this trek, this pilgrimage on the Camino was going to be something that you were going to attempt to experience?
Well, I knew that I wanted to do something big.
Yeah.
And I mostly knew I wanted to escape this life that I was actually no longer living. I didn't know what life I was living, but it wasn't the previous one. And I am an outdoor person, and I am a hiker. Never that kind of hiking, but I really get solace in nature, the way a lot of people do, especially in our part of the country.
Yeah.
It is a healing thing to be out in a forest, and I wanted a healing thing.
It feels like a journey of paradoxes as you're out there trekking with all these other pilgrims and having these kind of fleeting but profound connections that I think you write, I wanted solitude, but I wanted company at the same time. I think a lot of people can resonate with that, especially when you're dealing with grief. You're not exactly sure where to turn.
Absolutely true. You know, and I think I don't know that you can do this in your non-Camino life, but that balance between choosing to be with people because that is solace, but choosing also to be completely alone, not so that you can cry and fall apart, but so that you can just listen to the silence.
Can you describe a bit of the journey for someone who's not familiar with this particular trek? It's quite astounding what you went through.
Well, first of all, there are 8 official Camino de Santiagos. They are ancient Catholic pilgrimages, and they all take place in Spain somewhere, mostly northern Spain. The one that I went on is called Camino Frances, and it's the one of the longest ones, so it's about 500 miles. To describe it, the countryside is amazing and beautiful, and you go through everything that you can possibly imagine that is a countryside. And you walk a lot.
A lot.
And the weather does not cooperate. So you walk in all weather. And it is not what I would call a vacation.
No.
So you walk 6, 7, 8, 9 hours a day, sometimes in a lot of rain. And then when you finish walking, you don't get to take a nice hot bath in a hotel.
Right.
You could, but I didn't. You stay in essentially what's like a youth hostel. In a large room in bunk beds with other people who, many of whom snore. I had no idea how many people snore. So yeah, and then you wake up and you do it again. And you do it 37 days in a row. And
barely nurse your wounds in any way that you possibly can. You're such a card-carrying researcher and prepared person, but you kind of went into this purposely without doing all of the said research. What was that experience like, kind of giving yourself over to the Camino?
Very hard to not over-research or even research at all. I really wanted to throw myself on this experience. And either for better or for worse, I'm going to say for better, I met a woman on day 1, and we lost each other and then re-met, and we lost each other and re-met, who was a ridiculous researcher. I mean, way more than me. And so for several days, I could just turn to her and say, well, we're about to come to this town. Tell me everything about it.
Right.
And she knew everything.
Yeah.
And so she was like my walking encyclopedia.
And you do find these moments where you have to rely on the kindness of strangers to either direct you to the next point or help you with something that you need. That must be pretty profound in those moments where you're all alone in a country where you don't speak the language fluently. Were those moments just, I mean, I imagine you can still feel them today.
Not terrifying, I will say, at all. The Camino has a gentleness about it, so there's that. And I didn't meet a bad person. You know, I didn't meet an unhelpful person.
Right.
So that was, you know, there are many lessons, but especially coming from a country that is embroiled in a lot of toxicity, to go someplace where everyone is kind of going out of their way for kindness was just, that's the balm. That's the healing part, absolutely.
And you say, you know, the trail ends literally on the Camino, but this grief that you carry, that doesn't go away, and it's not really a linear path, and I think a lot of people can relate in experiencing any form of grief.
Well, that's what the weird thing is about the grief industry, that you can read about the 7 stages or the 8 stages, and you know, if that helps you, I think that's wonderful, whatever helps anybody. But it is not linear. For me, it is not about stages. And it is about, at the end of the book, I say that grief is an organ. It, you know, it's in your body. And you carry it with you. You don't escape it. You don't leave it behind. It is part of you. My husband is part of me, and that's good. And my daughter is part of me, and that's good. And that's the way I deal with it.
What's it been like to share this story more publicly now that the book is out? I imagine you're going to hear from a lot of people who have shared some similar experiences.
Well, we're about to find out.
Yes.
Because I was in a studio reading the book aloud because I did the audiobook. So I have read the book aloud, but I have not read it or talked about it to a large audience,
Okay.
which I will tonight. So you could ask me tomorrow, what is it like
Wonderful.
to share this with a lot of people?
Well, we so appreciate you sharing part of it with us today. Thank you so much for stopping by. The book is so beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so Lauren has that book event. It is tonight at 7. It's at Powell's City of Books on West Burnside. We'll have all those details for you on our website. The book again is Everything Changes Everything. For more information, just head to katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this. Thank you so much.